I need to make some book page bases for pockets and tags, and I thought I would take you along as I did that. I have a piece of Amazon packing paper here, and I have book pages from, looks like a textbook on how to write a good essay. Exciting stuff. I'm going to go ahead and trim off these edges and get them glued down to this, and I will speed this part of the video up. All right, I have everything trimmed out except for this one piece. And so we're just going to start gluing this down to our substrate. Again, this will be like watching paint dry, so I am going to speed up this portion of the video after I put a few pieces down. Now, I'm not going to orient these in any way, shape, or form. Like, I'm not worried about how the text is going to be oriented on my bases. I don't care about that. Once I get all of this glued down, I'm actually going to go over it with gesso just to kind of blur some of the text. And that gives us a nice background to decorate on. I am going to overlap these slightly. Okay, it's the next day and this is completely dry. So I'm going to cover up all of this with gesso. You'll still be able to see the text. And just to take a credit card or a braille or whatever you have and just kind of spread it across the book page. Okay, I think that looks pretty good. So I'm going to get my heat gun and see if we can dry this fairly fast. All right, the next thing that I'm going to do is do some stenciling on this. I'm going to use vintage photo, and I might try to use some gold rub and buff too to see how that does. I've never tried that before. And this stencil I've had for a while. It's my favorite. I think I got it from Amazon. There's no brand name on it. So I'm just going to do this very randomly. You can use whatever stencil you have to do this. All we're trying to do is just put some interest here in the background. Okay, let me get some gold. This is called Gold Leaf. Just going to put a little bit on this piece of tile here. And see if I've got a clean sponge somewhere. Let's just use this. Right, so we go back into some of these empty spots and see what we get. Oh, that's so pretty. And if you've never used this before, it does have a very strong smell. So if that bothers you, you might want to not do this or do it outside. So I think that's probably enough. I'm very happy with that. So now this needs to dry. What I'm going to do right now is take it outside and do some gold splatters on it and let all of this dry together. And once that's done, we'll come back and we'll figure out how we want to cut this up. Okay, this is all dry now. What I did was take some, and this is a mess, so don't pay any attention to that. I took the whole thing outside, and these are some metallic paints that I've had for a while. And they also came from Amazon. I'm not sure what the brand name is. There you go, Tinge. And if I can find them, I will leave a link in the description box below. But again, I've had these for a long time. So I used some of the black and some of the various shades of gold on here. And the wax, everything is dry now. So what I use these for is to make some kind of blank envelopes, some tags, some journal cards, and whatever else I come up with. So I'm going to first cut out an envelope. I want to measure over just a regular size envelope. Nothing too fancy. So I'm going to measure over about 6.5 inches. And then I want to measure down about 8.5 inches. About right there. Okay. And that looks about straight-ish. If it's not very straight, then we will trim it some more. Okay. Just cut that out. All right, and if you don't like the craft paper, you can always cover that up with some decorative paper or whatever you choose. And I will probably do that, but I won't do it until I decide what journal it's going to go into. So I'm just going to roughly fold this. You want to leave a little space here at the top. about like that. And I'm going to cut a little notch, thumb notch here in the middle. About right there. And then I'm going to ink the piece. Add some lace to this flap. Let me see what I have. You can add some labels, whatever you want to do that just to make it go with your, make it go with whatever journal you want to use it in. See how pretty that is? That is just gorgeous. It almost doesn't need anything else. Okay, so that's one idea. And I'm not going to decorate these. I just want to give you some ideas of what you can do with these backgrounds. So there's the back. All right, so we have a little piece down here that is, I just finished cutting that out. And this, I think, is 6.5 inches wide. Yeah. So we could make this into 2 large tags. So 6.5 inches would be about 3 1/4. Is that right? Yeah. So we're just basically cutting this piece in half. You want to trim off the bottom. It looks a little ragged. Oops. All right, and then trim off the bottom of that. If you like your corners rounded, that is, and I do. It's not cutting great. All right, and then you can either, if you have one of these to cut a tag shape, I'm just going to use my little handy dandy store card here and just cut the corners off. Use this one. Okay, do the same with this one. And then what I would also do, and again, I'm just going to ink around the edges and get that part done. I'm using Vintage Photo. I would sew around the entire edge of this. Decide if you want to cover this up with, say, some decorative paper or some tea-dyed paper that's a little bit lighter. That's probably what I'm going to do. Because this could use a little stiffening up for a tag. And these little ragged edges don't bother me. I think they look great. Let me see if I can get this corner rounder to work. Yeah. Okay, so there we have 2 tags. Like I said, I will go add some backing paper to this. And this is, again, a blank base. You can decorate it any way you want. So let's go ahead and put these aside. And so now let's do some journal cards. And I usually make mine roughly 3 by 5. So let me mark the 5-inch mark there. And I'm just going to cut all the way down to the bottom. Mark 3 inches down. Again, I'm just eyeballing. This does not have to be perfect. Mark down 3 inches again. I lost my mark. There it is. Go ahead and cut those out. You could go even plainer than this. And once you have your book pages all glued down and gessoed, you could just leave them like that. Looks perfectly good that way. Again, these need to be backed because they're like super thin. Okay, and these could be journal cards. They could be pockets. I'm going to cut out the rest of this and turn those into pockets. Trim off the bottom here. And this is just shy of 6 inches. So I'm going to put that let me measure that again. Okay, so this is 6 inches, this is 5 inches, so I'm going to cut this in half at 2.5 inches roughly. The little thingamabob keeps flying out. There we go. All right. Now you can glue these straight down to your page, adjust it. I am going to fold these in so they fit nicely on a journal page. Cut out those corners. And so then I end up with a pocket that is 5 inches wide and 2.25 inches this way. So 5 by 2.25. I'm going to cut a thumb notch out right there. Ooh, it doesn't like that. Paper's just a little bit too thin, and when that happens, just add some additional like cardstock or something under there when you're trying to cut it, and it should go through there just fine. All right. This I will also sew around, just because you never know how well you glued your papers down. They might start popping up, so it's always a good idea to sew, or just make sure you check that all the edges are down. So this is perfect. It just needs a little label or some kind of decoration on the front of it, and makes a perfect pocket. All right, so I'll leave that one be, and I'll do the same thing to this one. And that one looks a little lopsided. So let's cut a straight edge over here. Put it here and line it up. Yeah, it's just a tiny bit lopsided. Fold it some gussets. Trim it in the corners. You can see where the paper's lifting up. So I will glue that down. Let me see if I can find a piece of card to put under there. So here's just a scrap piece of file folder, and I'm just going to lay the pocket on top of that and cut it, and it should work better. Yep. So there you go. Ink that. All right, so we've got this piece left, and what I would like to do with that is clean up the edges, and I want to do a flip out for a journal. Let me get all this cut. I'm just going to give this a little bit of a fold. Make sure, yeah, I'm actually fairly straight. And hopefully this will go through both of those layers. Okay, so let's just imagine this is your journal page. This, of course, would have to definitely be decorated on that side. See, my pages are usually 5.5 inches wide. That's about right there. And that could be your journal page, and then you could have a flip out right here, or turn that into a little tuck. Come on, get in there. So There you go. This too can be decorated on both sides. And so there you go. We had that whole entire piece, which was roughly, I don't know, it's about the size of this mat. So I would say roughly 23 inches by, you just have to go by what the size of your paper is. I'm going to go 23 to 24 by 17 to 18 inches wide. And so we got this nice page out. We got 2 pockets. We got 3 journaling cards. We got an envelope. And we got a couple of tags, all out of that one piece of paper. You cut yours up any way you want to. It's a good way to build up your stash and have some neutral ephemera that you can decorate later to go with your journals. And I have a great big mess right here. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you found it informative. I'm going to go to the sewing machine and sew around all of these things. And I will add a picture of what I've done at the very end of the video for you to look at. All right. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you all have a very blessed day. Goodbye.